Alright, what is going on YouTube? Second set of Hidden Cup 4 main event round of 16s. We're gonna have Admiral Sun-shin and Master of Templar battling it out in this one. I will try to make these spoiler-free compared to the previous sets, but I will upload those in the order that they happened. So this is the second set of the day, and I definitely recommend watching the first one before progressing with this, just to make sure that I don't actually accidentally spoil something. So with that, let's take a look at the drafts. Admiral Sun-shin fittingly selects islands as his home map, and High Tides is the other one. This is going to be the first time that we're seeing High Tides in the main event of the event, and oh, Master of Templar going Mud Flow. Oh my goodness. Now there is two possibilities. I will try to lower the amount of guessing that I'm doing, but Mudflow is the map where I can imagine two types of players liking that. Either it's a player that is aware that everybody is hating that map, or at least everybody is technically supposed to hate that because no one really likes those bog maps amongst the pros, and he has a guaranteed strategy for that. The alternative is that we are talking about a Chinese or Vietnamese player, because those players play a lot more of these box scenarios, if you remember Mangrove Shallows Cup or so. So that Mud Flow pick is going to be interesting to take a look at. Interesting is the fact that we have a cross ban here. Island's first pick could indeed be, well, we know it's not MBL. Like, it's so easy to guess. Admiral Yi is definitely not MBL. Island's pick could definitely be a GM member, not necessarily Jordan, but I think if it's a GM member, it could be Jordan or potentially Tato. Cross is an interesting ban. It makes me feel like the player, whoever it is, might be afraid that he needs to macro on so many possible areas, might be afraid of very open maps potentially. So that's something that we have to keep in mind. And we are gonna have... yeah, I'm also waiting for Bypass. Bypass is my favorite map among the new ones. The other one is Quarry. Quarry is interesting too. So here are the civilizations. You're gonna have Vikings and Indians global bans over here. Indians is an interesting ban, given the fact that Slopes actually banned by Templar. Why did he even ban Indians? I feel like it's a bit of a confusion here. Why do you ban Indians when the maps are Islands, Gold Rush, High Tides, Mudflow? Just joined the stream. Is there a way to watch the first game right now? Yes, if you actually go to the videos tab on my Twitch channel, you can actually scroll back in this VOD, basically. So, yes, it's possible. There should be a videos tab, and on the videos, you just select today's thing, and you can scroll in it just like a YouTube video or so. And obviously you scroll to the beginning and you can actually rewatch the first one completely. So yeah, it is possible. He don't want to face Indians on Slopes, but there is no Slopes. Slopes is a ban. This third row or the second row, the red ones, are the bans. That's why I'm surprised. If Slopes was a map pick for any of these players, I would say, okay, Indians ban. But why do you even ban Indians for a map pack that consists of Islands, Gold Rush, Mudflow, High Tides? Mudflow, Indians aren't amazing. High Tides, Indians aren't amazing. Islands, Indians are super potato. Gold Rush, why would you pick Indians there? So that feels a very interesting decision. And obviously, you pick a map first before banning a map, but the Civilization draft actually succeeds the map draft. So that Indians ban was made after this Civilization or this map draft. So this is a weird decision. Italians coming in early on over here. We have Portuguese for Admiral Yi. I think as we will start the games in 4 minutes. So we have 4 minutes to discuss the draft. So let's take a look at the players that are in this main event right now. Obviously, this contains spoilers to the qualifiers, so in case you haven't seen all of them or you still want to check some of them, then be careful because there's going to be some spoilers ahead. But guessing the players probably is better if we take a look at who is in. So it's Doubt, MBL, Dogao, Yo, Hera, Tato, Leary Viper, Jordan VV, Bars Winchester, Bakhti Vilas, ASM Nikov. What we know is that Winchester would never, well, not necessarily never, but Winchester would definitely prioritize Portuguese for islands. It's also worth looking at the fact that Admiral Yi went for a late Portuguese pick on islands. But that's his first home map, so you gotta wonder if he thinks about something else other than just standard galley plays, because what if his opponent picks Portuguese first? Which could still be a possibility. You pick Italians, you pick Portuguese, and you assume that your opponent is going to snipe one of them. Aztecs and Chinese, by the way, are the snipes. Khmer, Japanese, Tatars, Portuguese, Britons, and Lithuanians for Admiral Yi working out for him. Lithuanians, the late pick, is actually a nice one. And interesting is the fact that Admiral Yi lost Chinese to a snipe and not Lithuanians. Oftentimes Lithuanians is actually getting sniped. In fact, I think this is the most sniped civilization in the qualifiers. We can actually take a look at that. Give me a moment to bring that one up. But based on the statistics of the qualifiers, and obviously qualifiers had some slightly unbalanced games, but still, it might actually carry some relevant statistics info based on the sample size. And what you see here is times sniped. Lithuanians were only sniped 9 times. I'm absolutely surprised about that. To me, it felt a lot more. We have seen that Aztecs, Mayans were the most banned snipe combination. Oftentimes Chinese were sniped, but to me it felt a lot more when I saw this. Especially considering that Lithuanians have a 76% win rate with a fairly decent sample size, 16 wins, 5 losses. That's not something to underestimate. One of the best win rates overall if you take a look at other civilizations. Like, Chinese also have a great win rate in general. Obviously, main event stats will be more relevant, but the sample size will be rather small because we don't have an awful lot of games. If you think about it, we'll have 8 games, or 8 sets, to be precise. In the first round, 4 sets in the quarterfinals, 2 sets in the semis, and 1 grand final. So the sample size will never be amazing for this. So yeah, the Italians pick is interesting from Master of the Templar. I think that we have seen a couple of players in the qualifiers that prioritized Portuguese over Italians over here. Berbers could be a nice secondary pick on islands. But I think that was just to make sure that if Italians get sniped, Berbers is still there. Franks, Celts, Mayans, and Mongols. Mayans also not getting sniped here, so Master of the Templar still able to retain one of the civilizations for Arabia. So it's probably going to be something like either Mayans or Franks versus, I would think, Lithuanians, maybe. We have no more time to discuss things, so here is the first game. I would love to discuss drafts a lot more in detail, but I feel like it tells us a lot more if we just take a look at the game itself. So, set number 2. Admiral Sun-shin versus Master of the Templar. We're going to have a purple versus... Oops. Hopefully you didn't see anything over there. Because there was a bit of a spoiler from the previous one. I forgot that I didn't actually turn Capture Age into this. So apologies for that. Hopefully you didn't see anything. If you did, I sincerely apologize. So here it is. We are gonna have Admiral Sun-shin versus Master of the Templar, and the first thing I'm spotting is that we have a teal player on the left for Admiral Yi, and we do have Master of the Templar in purple. Now, as I said, colors are not necessarily something that is relevant for the players right now, because it is something that players can trick around it very, very easily. So I don't expect Viper to play a yellow at all, for example. I think you have to stick with one color, though. Still, Master of the Templar being purple, the only player that really loves his purple color is Winchester. Winchester plays a lot of purple, though, so this could be a bit of a clue towards him. And if you add it to the fact that Master of the Templar actually went for Italians, that's a question. Who says RDY? I think a lot of people are saying RDY. I don't think it's actually a case. Although indeed it's an interesting question that it feels a little bit more like a slang. We had a pause from Admiral Yi right at the beginning. My first thought would be someone like MBL or so with this, but I don't think Admiral Yi is MBL with the third Islands pick. Anyways, we have an interesting ship selection here for Master of the Templar. That's something that we have to discuss. Mongols. Mongols aren't a bad civilization on Arabia by any means, but somewhat unconventional, and he's gonna be up against Lithuanians. So it seems like he didn't want to use up his Mayans over here, and we will have a Mongols versus Lithuanians setup, but I think that actually benefits Lithuanians here by a massive margin. I feel like, yeah, indeed, Admiral Yi said GLHF, Finnish players tend to do that, and indeed, Jordan says ready, and Islands pick could be something as well. I feel like, however, chat is something that we have to be careful about when making predictions, as we do have a lame attempt over here, by the way, something I almost completely missed, and I already see the YouTube comments saying that I'm a potato caster for doing this. Oh man, look at that. Admiral Yi wanted to call a restart and then realized there is no restart. Oh my goodness. For real? Who says for real? Because as I said, chat is something that we have to be careful about, because, you know, people can always try to impersonate another player. But, yeah, honestly, my first guess was Hera. I don't think that the colors will tell us anything. And for real, I don't know, MBL would not say something like that. Maybe Leary would say something like that. Hera definitely could be someone that says something like this. And you have to keep in mind that with the lame, Mongols are suddenly a much better option. Over here, Admiral Yi has the option to counter lame, but he will opt not to do that. And on the other side, Admiral Yi is a player that didn't even read the rulebook. Once again, the first person that comes into my mind from that is sort of MBL-like. But there is something else as well. Admiral Yi must be a qualifier player. Admiral Yi must be a player that qualified. Do you know why? Because if you were invited directly to the main event of the game, you read the rules that are only applicable for the main event, right? You take a look at the rules and you practice for the main event exclusively, right? But if you assume that there is a restart, that means that you had to play in the qualifiers, because the qualifiers had restarts. So it seems it's a weak clue, but Admiral Yi actually wanting to call a restart makes me very convinced that he's a player that qualified, because he felt like there's a restart just like in the qualifiers, whereas his opponent knew exactly there is no restart. It could just be Admiral Yi not reading the rules, but as I said, if you were preparing directly to the main event, you would have known that there is no restart in the main event. The only way that you assume there is restart in the main event, as we have a fast Archers play here from Master of Templar, it's a super fast play. Look at this. He's just bringing in the third board. But he's already on the way to Feudal Age with a 20 pop Men-at-Arms build. Over here from him, very unconventional, as we're gonna have some walls up, but currently I'm tempted to say it is a Jordan versus Hera matchup. Obviously, I don't want to decide on things after 9 minutes, but from what we have seen, that kind of feels like it. Obviously, we are gonna have a lot more sample size to look at. Admiral Yi actually goes to mill the deer here, so he wants to get that food income for himself, but I feel like the Men-at-Arms is coming in already, and the fact that Master of the Templar is gonna have, like, he still has a completely unconsumed boar. He pushed in his deer. Well, he did push in one deer, not a lot. Bidax Men-at-Arms coming in here. That's a very nice opening for Master of the Templar. A very tight build. So someone who is really confident in his build order. So far, I have a feeling that Master of the Templar could be a top 5 player. Based on the execution, based on how clear this tight build was a nice lane as well. And the Men-at-Arms opening is actually very nice against the Scouts. Finds that Voyager. Oh my goodness, this could be a fast game. This could be a very fast game here, because that's a Voyager down and no stable up. And yeah, there's a Spearman out, congratulations, but what are you gonna do against the Men-at-Arms here? You don't do much. And Eventually, all these metas need to do is just deny that stable. If you delete this stable, you lose 88% of the resources, and you see that Admiral Yi already has to react to this one, but I think that starts to be a disaster very soon. Takes a poke on his scout, and from the first couple of minutes in this set, I feel like Master of the Templar seems to be a much stronger player than Admiral Yi, because Admiral Yi was trying to play this one standard, but oh my goodness, Master of the Templar surprised him in many ways. Still, the stable goes up alongside the archer range, but you have to keep in mind that Admiral Yi doesn't have safe gold income. So Admiral Yi can only go for a single archer here, and that could be killed by a scout, even though the scout now has low HP, because it took some hits from the boar, now it takes some damage from the spearman, and the spearman can run away from the man-at-arms, because it's a Lithuanian spearman. Still, if you look at the resources, look at this. This is actually beautiful eco for Master of the Templar. Double bit axe, and horse color. I also need to add the scoreboard, I apologize for that. But now we have scoreboard, so it is a best of 5, in case you were wondering. Looking at the base of Master of the Templar, by the way, is he's gonna have a safe gold at the back, no stone, that's safe for now, which is gonna be problematic for Mongols, but I feel like he's just gonna play standard archers for the time being. Whereas for Admiral Yi, he is going to start walling off the left side. He kind of has to, because he wants to protect that gold mine. And with that, we're gonna have a much stronger eco already, I would say, for Master of Templar. Although his opponent also has bit axe and horse color, so things stabilized a little bit for him. But I feel like actually, look at this. Admiral Yi only has 5 seconds of T-cell time, so I'm surprised how well he has handled this early pressure. So now he's gonna have access to gold. He's going for mostly skirmishers right now, which raises the question of what exactly Master of Templar is gonna do against that. That's already a blacksmith coming in. And honestly, I feel like Master of Templar will just play this one very greedily, because the thing is that Admiral Yi can't actually move this army away from this gold mine currently. If he moves away from here, the men-at-arms and the archers will hit this gold mine. So he needs to play defensive, but if he plays defensive, what Master of the Templar is just going to do is outboom him and just go straight into Castle Age. You see the amount of farms coming in here for Master of the Templar. He even stopped making archers. This is just going to be a play right for Castle Age from him. Obviously, the faster moving skirmishers helps quite a lot over here. But at this point, for the Master of the Templar, he just needs to delay his opponent. He doesn't have to do a lot of damage, just firing downhills against the skirmishers. Both players do have fletching, but look at those resources. As I said, it's going to be much better resources overall for a Master of the Templar. Nice moves with the men-at-arms to try and pick off the skirmishers. And remember that the gold income isn't really consistent for Admiral Yi, so he isn't really able to spam archers by any means. Eventually, Master of the Templar will be forced back. But I think that if he just stops making archers and thinks about Castle Age, he could be beating his opponent there very easily, and he could go for a couple of knights forward siege workshop and devastate his opponent this way, because the thing is that Admiral Yi is very far away from actually clicking up to Castle Age in this one. And if you look at Master of the Templar, he is looking much better in that aspect. After Wilbur, I think he's actually going to click up. He's really doing a nice job just delaying his opponent's push against his base. He knows that his opponent will have the advantage in terms of archer and skirmisher numbers. It's also +1/+1. Faster moving Lithuanian skirmish helps with the micro as well. But it's all about just applying some pressure on this gold mine and make sure that your opponent is forced to defend until you're actually working towards Castle Age. And honestly, it might just be a double stable Knights play once we reach Castle Age for Master of the Templar, but it's definitely going to be a Knights play from this point on, although he's massing archers. And he has 2 more Voyagers queued up, so with that many archers, he might think about playing this one with crossbows. But yeah, 2 more Voyagers are up. You either stop making archers, or you have to add a couple more Voyagers on the gold to make sure that you can click up to Castle Age here, but still, his Castle Age advantage is going to be quite huge compared to his opponent. We have some big walls coming up here to Admiral Yi right now, whereas for Master of the Templar, he is going to drop stable number 1 over here, and indeed after this Voyager, he's going to click up to Castle Age, beating his opponent to castle by what is going to be at least a minute and a half or so. Cleans up this force of archers, but Knights and crossbows could be pretty devastating over here for Admiral Yi, especially with this gold mine. Admiral Yi could still fall back to this one, but to be honest, if you are Master of the Templar and you get this position here with your knights and crossbows, you might even make a siege workshop here and just try to deny all these minerals on the right side. The stone, the double golds. If you can secure a position for yourself here with the crossbows and a hill advantage, siege workshop here, you can actually deny a lot of resources from your opponent. And there is going to be the second stable coming in. I think if Admiral Yi spots that, he's gonna know that his opponent is up, because you make the double stable play when you actually click up already. He's not far away from him Castle Age, but as I said, it's gonna be like a 1.5 minute advantage for Master of the Templar, who is also mixing a couple of scouts to try and pick off these early skirmishers, because he wants to bring in those archers to the front line a little earlier, so he can hit the opponent right when he reaches Castle Age with crossbows. Indeed, it's a 1.5 minutes difference between the two players into Castle Age, no surprise about that, and that's a lot of scouts coming in here for the Master of the Templar. You gotta ask the question if it's actually worth it for him to go for that many scouts. I feel like the answer is no, although it makes quite a lot of sense. I feel like, especially with +1 defense bloodlines, 2 or 3 scouts is enough here. Obviously, this gives him a much nicer edge in this engagement, and he helps against the archers as well. We're gonna have a defensive tower up here for Admiral Yi, so he commits to this gold mine, as he's going to rewall the left side of his base with some houses. Crossbow botkin on the way. Knights will be coming in a moment as well. Scouts jumping beneath the tower might be a bit of an overcommitment though, and indeed Master of the Templar will be forced to disengage, but when the first knights start coming out, it's going to turn it completely around. But there is no knights right now for Master of the Templar, and this is why I was asking if it's actually a good idea to mix in that many scouts, because you spend a lot of your food on scouts instead of waiting until you get knights, and indeed the knights were delayed a little bit because of that, so all this castle advantage that Master of the Templar had is pretty much just gone. Leeming and scouts on the way to Castle could be MBL, could be, but we'll have to see more about that. I think the Islands game, if we get to Islands, could be very informative. If it's a very bad Islands game, it could be MBL indeed. MBL is not super bad on Islands, but there is a clear difference between him and other players on Islands. There is a couple of players here that aren't necessarily clear water players. And the Italians picked for Islands would also be something that MBO would probably be okay with. So here come the Knights, but his opponent now has quite a lot of crossbows, and despite the early damage that Admiral Yi has taken, I'm starting to like his position more and more. I mean, he's got the University Ballistics, he's gonna have a Monastery as well, and he has a pretty decent force of crossbows, picking off a couple of Knights over here, tries to retreat to the hill for now, but really, his opponent's army isn't convincing me. In fact, it's 5 Knights, 7 crossbows, but these Knights aren't super amazing right now, they're going down pretty rapidly. Crossbows over here will also bite the dust pretty soon. Fast eco upgrades coming in for both players. Manual reseeding, at least at this stage. We'll have to take a look at that as well, because there is a couple of players that use automatic reseeding in post-Imperial, and there is a couple of players that use manual reseeding, and that could be a nice clue as well for us. It looks like Admiral Yi is having some wood issues here. He's getting ballistics in just now, but that's an expensive and wood-heavy upgrade, even going for a second TC on that gold mine. But that means that his farming eco is quite idle over here right now, so that's not ideal. But still, I mean, Admiral Yi is pretty much in this game. In fact, I'm starting to like his position more and more, and this is the tricky part for Mongols. Mongols are a beastly civilization in post-Imperial, but right now they don't have anything going for them. Their knights aren't amazing, their eco isn't amazing whatsoever, and that's a dangerous territory against Lithuanians, because Lithuanians, if they get an upper hand in like early to mid Castle Age, they could start picking up relics. And if they get to 3 relics, it doesn't matter that you have Mangadai, because Cavalier Skirmisher will just stomp everything here. And you already have the first relic coming in here for Admiral Yi. A couple of crossbows getting picked off over here, and that leaves Master of the Templar with only cavalry, but he only has skill barring armor for the time being. First relic already on the way, and the stable is standing here, so cavalry could be mixed in any time. It looks like now Master of the Templar is playing this one a lot more passive. Admiral Yi's base looks very Dogao. I'll have to check his build order on another land map. I haven't seen that from him. I am 100% sure I can identify Dogao. If there's one person I can identify, that's Dogao. And also you have to add the fact, remember that he thought there is a restart. And I would think that Dogao prepares a lot for tournaments as well. And he just had to prepare for the main event. So I would think that Dogao wouldn't have anticipated there is a restart. I think Dogao would have known that there is no restart available. Anyways, it is 3 TCs now for Master of Templar. Admiral Yi is just adding TC number 3, and he's behind by 8 Voyagers, which is something we shouldn't overlook. So, he still needs to be careful about the Mongols' boom, but at the end of the day, he's picking up relics already, getting some outposts out on the right side to prevent those knights from potentially running past his base. Nice quick walls over there. A couple of knights will run inside, and this Voyager is probably just history. And it seems like we're actually going to have a switch back into knights. If you're Lithuanians, you probably want to snowball this game in Castle Age though, as we will take a look at the scouting of Admiral Yi. He knows about this relic, and he also knows about that relic, so Admiral Yi has everything that he needs to pick up quite a lot of relics here. He could actually get this relic for himself here. That's actually something that he isn't aware of, and it's very unlucky for him that he doesn't see this relic. That would be an easy relic for him. If Admiral Yi gets a little bit better scouting for himself, then he's potentially in a position to pick up 4 or so relics. He right now is sitting on 1, trying to look for another one. I think this is something he can actually get back home. This should be guaranteed for him. And the question is if he finds this one. He actually has a very, very nice scouting, so he's really playing Lithuanians to their strength. Like, he is definitely looking for the relics. And one of the reasons why Lithuanians have a so good win rate is because once you get... Oh, he's missing that relic by a tile though. That's so unlucky. He's missing that relic by a tile over there. And he's still not able to find it. He's gonna have like 90% scouting soon. And he's still unable to find 2 relics. Now he's going to spot this one. And he's also going to find this one over here. So, yeah, I feel like all Admiral Yi needs to do is just go for these black areas. Like, relic could be over here, although that would be too close to this one. So I think you have to anticipate there's one relic in this corner, which should be over here or over here. And I'm not sure why Admiral Yi is going for that. I think Admiral Yi just wants to get that relic before his opponent could pick it up. That's the simple part of the story. Voyager count-wise, it's absolutely dead even, but I mean, we are soon talking about 4 relics for our Lithuanian player. Like, this one is coming in just now. There is a monk that is dropping off this relic soon, so it's gonna be 3 relics in a moment. Big force coming in here from Master of the Templar. A lot of skirmishers as well. Luckily for Admiral Yi, since when is a bear attacking knights? Since 1998. A bear always attacked knights. It attacks any military unit that is not a siege weapon or a scout. So yeah, bears, wolves attack knights as well. It's just not something that you really see a lot, as here come the knights, and here's the deal. Those knights already have +2 attack here, not a lot of defense upgrades, but they are still better in quality than the opponent's knights, and I feel like with the heal advantage here for Admiral Yi, he could definitely smash that army. You have to be careful with the skirmishers though, and there isn't really a huge amount of knights on the field for Admiral Yi, but he just wants to commit to this, as I think this is gonna be enough for Admiral Yi to clean this one up. The knights are dead, and now he can just take the crossbows back, and this is Lithuanians, and this is only 2 relics. Not even +2 defense. Now it's another relic in, and I feel like even though there is a nice counterattack with knights here on the other side by Master of the Templar, I feel like this is not doing enough damage to compensate for the fact that the Lithuanian player is sitting on 3 relics right now, and he's gonna be bringing in relic number 4, and might even find relic number 5 here. 5 relics Lithuanians is pretty much GG. You don't stop that. Even with Mongols, like, I mean, you could go for Mangadai, try to outmaneuver them, but they would just run to your eco and destroy everything. They just not care. Especially against Lithuanians. Lithuanian lead skirms will just be able to hold against the Mangadai nicely. So, after this scary start, I feel like Admiral Yi is pretty much in this game with Lithuanians. In fact, I think he has a massive lead now. So it's even Voyager count. He's already getting some battering rams on the field. But look at this, it's gonna be 4 relics, I think that's gonna be the 5th one in as well. 5 relic Lithuanians, what are you even going to do against that? It's not just about the relics now, it's also about the gold, and there is going to be a forward castle potentially coming in here. Like, that forward castle is very reminiscent of Yo or Vivi, but I don't think it's actually them. I really don't think it's actually them right now. it's really hard to say who these guys could be right now. Master of the Templar could definitely be... I think MBL is a very, very solid guess over here. And these camos are nice and everything, but Lithuanian Knights with +5 attack will destroy camos. Lithuanian Knights with +5 destroy everything. This game is over. Like, at this point. And the thing is that, as I said, Admiral Yi is just so close to picking up 5 relics over here. It's already 10 +5 on the Knights. But look at this Voyager count drop for Master of the Templar. This castle is probably gonna go up over here. There's a lot of camos on the field, but I mean, as I said, it's 15 attack on those. And worst case scenario, Lithuanians... Doughty. That's a doubt castle, ladies and gentlemen. I might have overestimated the performance of those knights, or they were just not grouped up well enough to take this fight. The castle eventually is gonna go up, I believe. I don't think that this castle can be fully denied. There was a Voyager that was still building it. It's 90%, so you can pull some more Voyagers. But I feel like Admiral Yi still has a pretty decent lead here. So this castle is very close to being finished. There is a couple of camos out now. You could potentially just get more knights on the field, although I would love to see pikemen being added. But look at this. Like, the amount of damage that Admiral Yi is doing here with the knights. This scout is also doing quite a lot of damage, so believe it or not, it's not really a super strong scout, but it picked up a couple of Voyagers, and that's all the value that you want to get for your army. There's 2 battering rams inside that stable, as now these knights will be almost fully upgraded. And surprisingly, Admiral Yi is not picking up that final relic. He probably doesn't know about that just yet. Knights will actually jump on the camels. No Voyagers are being pulled right now. This is actually a bad fight for Admiral Yi, though. Like, he's fighting up hills against camels, but you see how beastly those Lithuanian knights are. I mean, they were fighting up hills against camels that had +1, +2, and now you see why Lithuanians are so frequently banned. Because if Lithuanians get relics here, it's over. It's over, and with those Voyagers being sent to the stone mine, Admiral Yi will find the 5th relic here as well. That also gives him a huge gold income. That's not something that should be underestimated either. So it's one thing that he's getting the extra attack, he's also getting a lot of gold income, which helps an awful lot at getting towards Imperial Age, and you see that he's actually getting over there. Also worth noting that Master of the Templar is out of gold, because this castle is denying both of those gold mines, and even he's got 40 on stone. 40 on stone, man. And look at Admiral Yi's expansion. I don't know who this player is, but he feels like he had a very, very rough start, but his late game is actually much, much better. I'm starting to have some Jordan vibes, believe it or not, here. Because from what I have seen from Jordan in the qualifiers, this could very well be him. And as I said, the tough start was rough. He lost a board, he had his stable denied. But after that, it was just relic collection for Lithuanians, and really the usage of the map was great here. So the castle drop on this gold mine, this defensive castle is absolutely top-notch as well. I love this TC idea over here, trying to deny the neutral resources. And when we go to the POV of Master of the Templar, you see that he doesn't really have an amazing scouting. I'm starting to have some MBL feelings about this one. We will see if that's the case. We have to add that MBL would probably not necessarily ban slopes, but with that, we'll actually take a look at the draft. And as I said, there is a lot of oddities over here. So, Master of Templar bans slopes and then bans Indians. To me, that feels like a messed up draft, and that already limits the amount of possible players out there. Admiral Yi losing Lithuanians over here, and his opponent losing Mongols, both of the players actually using their final civilization pick here. And we'll go to the first home map of Master of the Templar, which is Gold Rush. The other home map is Mudflow. So once again, I'm going to show who the players are we can select from here. And I feel like these are the 8 qualifiers. I don't think it's Bhakti. Could be ACCM. I don't think it's Nikov. The reason why I don't think it's Nikov is because when he actually called a restart and his opponent told him that there is no restart, he actually laughed at it. And Nikov is probably dead serious and focusing so hard that he probably wouldn't do such a thing. Vilas would also be full focus, so you wouldn't be laughing. ACCM and Jordan would. I can see ACCM or Jordan being our teal player in this one. Admiral Yi taking game number 1 over here, and we don't have a second one just yet. ACCM will not say good luck, have fun in the beginning. Who knows? I think he might. I don't think that's necessarily something that decides a lot of things. But Jordan, I have some Jordan vibes. The rough start at the beginning, like when he wasn't under pressure, he played really well. When he was under pressure, he played a little sloppier. That, to me, is actually something that I can imagine out of Jordan. And also, as you said, the islands home map first is something that is definitely something. I think Jordan would be someone that also picks high tides, so that's something that you can consider. I just don't know what to do with Master of the Templar's Mudflow selection. Because Master of the Templar seems like a main event player to me. I think it's MBL. Currently, I have a feeling that it's MBL, but I think that we would need to see an Islands game to be able to decide if it's MBL or not. I think if we see an Islands game, I'm fairly certain that we'll be able to tell if it's MBL or not over there. So no second game just yet, as Admiral Yi has 1 game advantage, and Master of the Templar can choose from Gold Rush or Mudflow. We will see if he chooses Mudflow. I'm curious what he does there. Because Mudflow is also going to be an interesting one to take a look at. Not a lot of players would select it, and I think the biggest argument against MBL being Master of the Templar is that MBL would never select a map like Mudflow. There's no way he selects a map like that. That just feels so uncharacteristic to MBL. MBL likes the standard land maps, whereas that map is like boglands whatsoever. I feel like I don't even know which player among these would actually select Mudflow as his home map. Could be a player like Doubt, but he wouldn't actually type like the really or so. He would just also laugh at the restart attempt. The way that Master of Templar reacted to the restart attempt of his opponent makes me feel like we have one of the players that can get tilted a little bit easier. Like, I don't think Doubt would react to that one like that. Dogao, Hera and Leary could definitely react to that way, and MBL as well. I don't think Mr. Yo would do that, neither Terra nor Viper. So if it's a main event player over there, then my money is on either Hera, Leary, or MBL. This land game wasn't good enough, I think, to be Leary. We haven't seen any flashy macro behind that one overall. Same for Hera, I would say, so that's why I was going with MBL. But this is interesting. Robo has removed the second game, or the first game here. And now we can actually go with the second one. So, it is ready. We can jump into game number 2 over here. And with that, we are going into... It seems like we're going to Mudflow, and I think this game is going to tell us an awful lot about these two players. You see, Mudflow, this is my biggest counter-argument against MBL. I just can't imagine MBL would ever pick a map like this. That is basically map in the middle with all the boglands, a start with the shorefish. This is everything that MBL would never do with his life. I am fairly certain. So The thing is that I can't really imagine who these players could be that are actually picking this overall in general. So with that, we are gonna have Master of the Templar playing as Franks on the right side in purple. Left side is going to be Khmer for Admiral Sun-shin in teal. Both of these are reasonable. Let's talk about this. We are gonna have Franks here because you have 2 patches of berries. I mentioned that in my map introduction video that there is, I think, less herdables. You only have 4 Vora buffaloes you start with, but there is double patches of berries. And that actually means that Franks are reasonable here. Other side, Khmer is the civilization pick. The reason why I pick Khmer here is because you can't make farms close to your TC on these shallows. So you will make farms out here. You have seen this on one of the maps in Red Bull Vololo, that on a map where you can't build close to your TC because of these shallows, you actually use Khmer. This means that this player is actually very, very familiar with that. Not necessarily a big clue, but Jordan would definitely be someone, like, just to kind of keep pushing that idea with such a play. And the reason why is because his teammates are like Doubt, Viper, Tato. All of these players were involved in Red Bull, which means that they are very familiar with how to play such a scenario. And I am fairly certain that the GM members had some discussions about strategy in this. So it looks like both players will move out for wood, and Admiral Yi coming in here to lame the huntable of his opponent. MBL confirmed, right? I don't think it's MBL. I don't think it's MBL at all, but whoever is doing this actually is a pretty aggro player over here, and at the end of the day, that Rhino gets lamed. It's not the end of the world, though, for Master of the Templar, because what he could do is make a mill here on the berries, and indeed, I think that's what he should do. Just make a mill on the berries, and you can drop off the hunt over there. But yeah, like, keep in mind that players might try to conceal their identity. This is definitely something that MBL would do. But would MBL ever pick Islands as his home map? No, absolutely not. That's the main reason why I don't think it's MBL. This is a very, very MBL-like thing to do from Admiral Yi. But I'm gonna think out loud here. What if it's Viper? Like, think about it this way. Viper would probably love impersonating people here. I am leaning towards a GL member being involved in this one. Could be Tato, could be Viper, could be Jordan. Obviously, there is no guarantees. But what I'm thinking about is that, what if Master of a Templar is trying to impersonate, or Admiral Yi is trying to impersonate someone here? What would a player win trying to hide their identities other than troll? Making it much harder for the next opponent to be able to prepare for him. That's what you would actually gain for that, I think. Like, obviously, the thing is that I think the first 2 rounds have already been played, and the semifinals might already be going on. Yeah, that's true. Viper would probably not ask for a restart that way, though. That's absolutely true. So, the thing is that the only way that the players are able to benefit from any information that they see during the casts is in the Grand Finals. But if you're a player that is aspiring for the Grand Finals, then you're probably trying to hide your identity in an effort to make sure that your opponent, if you actually get into the Grand Finals, doesn't know who you are exactly. And that could be a key thing. So yeah, indeed, you are absolutely right about the fact that they can't see it before the finals, but if you're a player that is playing for the finals, so let's say the top, and Viper would be definitely one of those players, for example, that is obviously hoping to get into the finals, and he's got the skill set to get there, then hiding your identity could definitely be something that you consider. You also have to think about one more thing, and that's extremely important. They don't see the other games. However, there is always communication between the players, and even though you're technically not supposed to reveal what it was happening, there is a lot more internal information most likely for the players than what we are seeing over here. So we don't know what the communication is between the players, like teammates, for example, in regards to that. Obviously, they're not allowed to share if they won or lost or whatsoever, but you never know, right? So they might be telling each other, hey, I encountered a player that actually played this map with this civilizations in an effort to potentially help the teammates, or so. Everybody has practice partners as well, so this is where they can actually see strategies. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that we're not actually seeing, and one thing that we are seeing over here is Master of Templar losing that scout, and here comes the galley play, and Admiral Yi is playing this game fairly well so far compared to the previous start that he has had. We have some wars from Master of Templar, who is playing scouts. Why are you playing scouts on this map? I mean, I understand the concept that it's impossible to volley outside, but I don't think you necessarily need to volley outside. If I'm Admiral here and I'm seeing scouts, what I would probably do, either you volley off like this, indeed. You can have houses to jump inside with Khmer, that's a nice bonus as well. Or you can just move your eco mostly to here and volley off that way and play with galleys. I feel like this map is more like a galley map. Here, I feel like the outside has less importance. There is most of the gold over there, but with Khmer you can always jump into houses and make a couple of defensive spearmen. But I feel like wood denial is actually a better option right now than gold denial. You see that Master of Templar was completely caught off guard by this play over here, and he's just dropping his own dock. But he doesn't have gold income, so he's gonna struggle a little bit getting ships out for himself. And one of the nice things about the maps being brand new to this event in the main stage is that every player has to bring in his own strategies here. The players won't really have the ability to see what others do until they actually are seeing the games casted, but by then everybody has played his sets, so that's not going to help. So the only way you get information on how a certain player would actually play a map like this is if you have a practice partner. Most of these players have a practice partner, so that's no surprise about that though. Obviously, teammates also might discuss strategies, so similar strategies on similar maps could be a clue towards certain teammates as well. That's a little bit sloppy over there from Admiral Yi, leaving that opening there, and he's running to the wrong direction. I think he just wants to plug this hole in here, sacrificing the villager. That's a disaster. He could have just ran to the house. That was the first really bad move of Admiral Yi in this game, and he's gonna have defensive spearmen out, but that hole is still going to be open, and the scouts will keep running inside. Scout in the middle, and this is one of the reasons why I don't understand why this map is even involved in this map pool. When we had the Mangrove Shallows Cup in 2019, it was evident that you had to change the water balance and weaken the ships because they were too strong compared to feudal age land units. So this is why I don't understand why this map is in the map pool, because it just feels so off compared to the other maps, and it seems like whoever Teal is, he's forgetting about the fact that you could jump into houses with Khmer, because that seems to be the case so far. And to me, it kind of feels like Master of Templar just wants to play this one as an open land map with scouts. He didn't actually expect water fights happening here that much. And probably the reason why he's picking it is because it's hard to wall your starting base, right? Just like Atacama, this could be a map for a player, and I'm thinking more about the MBL/Hera/Lyris style. Although, I think that Lyri and Hera play meta so much that they wouldn't probably go for this map. But I feel like we're actually down to these three people, because, as I said, if Master of the Templar would actually select this map and play heavy on ships, that would be a clue towards potentially players that like to play bog maps, so like Bacti, ACCM, Mr. Yo, even though the first game was a little bit sloppy from Purple compared to these players. But I feel like as we have a lot of TC idle time over here for Admiral Yi, coming in for him, a little bit low on food he is, I have to say. In fact, that's a lot of TC idle time for Admiral Yi, a little bit sloppy from him. And the thing is, as we could have a demo coming in for Admiral Yi pretty soon over here, another fire ship comes out and you can just finish off that scout. So the thing is, that Master of Templar might just think that this is a Scouts map, and the Scouts control is actually very reminiscent of Hera, and remember that the way that he reacted to the restart attempt of the opponent could indeed be Hera or MBL. So I'm starting to lean towards that. He actually managed to pick off 3 villagers, which was a very, very nice way of playing this one so far. So really he used those scouts to maximum efficiency. It was a little sloppy from Admiral Yi under pressure, and this is why I'm saying that this is not Viper. The more I'm seeing this, the more I'm looking at Jordan. Because he's very good under pressure, or when it's not pressurized. But under pressure, he starts to waver a little bit, and you see that there's a lot of TC idle time, for example, for him. When those scouts ran inside, he started sort of panicking, and his eco was very, very inefficient because of that. So, I have some Jordan vibes over here right now, but still, we're gonna have the galleys harassing these villagers, and you see that the defensive tower has already been forced, and I mentioned this before. I feel like the ships are too strong on water compared to field age units, and that actually is a massive, massive thing here. You can also use the galley to take down the spearman, and I'm actually going to raise an alternative here, and that's actually going to be a player like Bacti or ACCM from the qualifiers. I would be a little bit surprised if they were, but they actually seem to be fairly experienced on this map overall, when it comes to potentially how do you actually control your units. So you have scouts supported by galleys, and the galleys pick off the spearmen. It's not something that's like super complicated to find out. There was a beautiful demo over there from Admiral Yi. But still, whoever Admiral Yi is fairly experienced on bug maps. And he's also playing this one really smart from the aspect that he's just securing more ground in the middle for himself. Obviously, you have to control the outside and the inside at the same time as well. We don't have a market in for Admiral Yi, so he's gonna keep idling his TC. But his opponent also idled his TC for quite a while. So at the end of the day, the villager count is still in the favor of Admiral Yi. That's actually an amazing thing for him, because he's got... Oh, that's why. I completely forgot about the fact that Master of Templar is already going up to Castle Age. In that case, this is a disaster for Admiral Yi. He was idling his TC to go up into Castle, but, I mean, he just clicked up, didn't have a market. This is also sort of overchopped, so he needs to be careful to the early nights. And his opponent will probably keep playing a land game over here. Still, the woodlands on the outside aren't super, super great, as we're gonna have War Galley, so the Master of the Templar will come in here. And what is he up to here? Is he actually planning to drop a tower to try and deny partially this wood line? That could definitely be a possibility. War Galley is in here. Spearman could be sunk by a demo. That's a nice one over there. Although you have to ask if that was efficient. Like, one demo ship for 3 Spearman might not be super, super amazing as a value. And remember that Master of Templar is Franks. So he can drop a castle for a cheap price. And in fact, he already has quite a lot of villagers on stone. Drops a tower over there on that stone mine, so he wants to just potentially deny the wood income of his opponent from the middle. Castle Age on the way for Admiral Yi, who wants to apparently play this one with 4 war galleys, but he's gonna need some time until he's able to mass those war galleys against the fire ships over here, getting pushed back quite heavily. Once again, I don't see how this map fits into the overall map pool of Hidden Cup. It feels so off from it. With that, galleys will be able to help out against the fire ships here, but there is not really anywhere to go here right now for Admiral Yi. The fire ships will be harassing the villagers from this side of the forest, and the towers will be dying this wood line, so Admiral Yi is gonna have a bit of a hard time, and oh, there's an overchop, that's a disaster. And Admiral Yi taps out immediately. I feel like I massively dislike the game plan for Master of the Templar, but Admiral Yi just collapsed under pressure, I believe. So I think that mechanical skill-wise, Master of the Templar seems to be a much more advanced player. And to me, Master of the Templar seems like he's the brute force type of a player, so he's not the one that actually wins with game plans, more like with execution, and that's what we have seen over here with the Superior Scouts micro. As I said, I'm just gonna repeat myself over here. I feel like I have some Hera/MBL vibes right now, maybe Leary. But with that, Master of the Templar equals it out, and we will see if we go to the first home map of Admiral Yi, which would be Islands. Now, we talked about Jordan being a possible candidate for Admiral Yi, And you have to keep in mind that when Jordan was playing the qualifiers, he actually selected Islands as his final home map because he wanted to play the decider game on it. So if Admiral Yi does that again, that's again a clue towards Jordan. We could see high tides coming in, and he's got Japanese for high tides, and Japanese is by far the best civilization for high tides. We'll have Frank's Lost over here for Master of the Templar. For high tides, it's probably going to be Berbers versus Japanese, where I am massively favor Japanese, I would say. Islands will be Portuguese versus Italians, most likely, which leaves us with Gold Rush being down to potentially Tatars or Britons. Either of those are amazing civs there. Versus Celts and Mayans. Technically, Berbers could be a civ as well for... Yeah, I think Berbers has to be a pick for Gold Rush, though, if you think about that. Because you want to counter potential Tatars. So I could see Celts being used now on high tides if we are going for that. So game number 3 will be coming in pretty soon as well. Right now, it's an even score between the two players. We have some feelings on who these players could be, but definitely no 100% confirmation right now. So we will have to dig a little deeper into this one to see who the players are. Obviously, one of these players will absolutely be eliminated from the tournament after this set. And as I said, I think the players that are the hardest to guess are always the ones that lose in the first round, because you just see so few gameplay from them that it's extremely hard to guess who they are, because you just don't see what they would do on different maps. You see 3, 4, 5 games from them at maximum. Other players that advance later on are much easier to guess at the end of the day. So, Master of the Templar versus Admiral Yi Sun-shin. We could go to Islands or we could go to High Tides. So, no game up just yet. We're gonna have to wait a little bit more until we get into the next game. So, it's fairly straightforward what civilizations we're going to see. I think the only question that we're having right now is if Master of the Templar will use Berbers here on High Tides, if we go to High Tides, or if he's going to use it on Gold Rush. I feel like you kind of have to save it for Gold Rush, otherwise you don't have an amazing civ, although Mayans could be a good Gold Rush civ as well, or even Celts. So there's definitely good Gold Rush civs there, but I feel like you're probably going to encounter Tatars, and that could be a little bit tricky for Mayans to fight against. Although I feel like Mayans could be in general good against either Tatars or Britons that will be picked on Gold Rush, so we might just see Berbers being picked on High Tides. No information about the games right now, as I'm saying that Robo just posted the next game over here. So we will jump into game number 3 over here, as we are gonna have apparently Islands coming in here. So, we will have Admiral Yi on the south playing as Portuguese in teal, and on the north it is going to be Italians from Master of the Templar, no surprise about that. So we will see what our Portuguese player is up to over here. This is his first home map. We have seen Jordan landing in the qualifiers with Portuguese, and that definitely surprised many opponents. Well, not many opponents, but I think it was Jordan versus Kaposh, the last game of the series, where Jordan completely surprised Kaposh with a landing with Portuguese. Or was it Italians? I don't even remember, but it was definitely a clear water civ that actually had a landing going on, and Jordan just won that game that way. So we will see what we can conclude from this Islands game over here, but I feel like, as I said, the Islands and Mudflow games are the ones that will tell us a lot about the identities of these players. I feel like if Master of the Templar is actually MBL, we're going to see potentially landing attempt from him, or a somewhat subpar, let's say, water combat, because I think Hare and Leary have good enough water execution nowadays. They don't really like playing water maps, but they're okay with that. MBL is the one that doesn't like to play water maps, and also, compared to many other players, it's also a little bit sloppier for him in terms of execution. Fast deer push coming in here for Admiral Yi for what he wants to be a little bit faster feudal age compared to his opponent, with the support of the hunt. And Master of the Templar hasn't found two of his piggies, or at least didn't collect them just yet. We'll be playing a standard hybrid map build over here, 4 on wood. And on the other side, we're actually going to have the same build as well. So far, there is no clue if it's going to be a landing or not from either side. We'll have the first boar coming in here a little earlier, though, and we will see if that next voyager goes for a dock or so, because this is definitely not the standard hybrid build order. So, with that, there is going to be what appears to be a back dock play over here from our Italian player, whereas on the other side, this is more like the standard Vorder Civ play. So, already from this one, I can sort of conclude that Master of Templar is not Dogao, I would say, because Dogao wouldn't actually send the Voyager out to take the boar before sending the dock Voyager out. You see that this dock Voyager is actually going to be delayed. This build order is alright from Master of Templar, but I don't think it's actually as polished as it could possibly be. Because you see that the dock is almost up for Admiral Yi, and I don't think that the advantage that you're getting from bringing that board a little earlier does benefit you that much, especially if you compare it to the fact that Admiral Yi actually went for deer push as well. So 5 on wood for both sides for the time being, and I wonder if Master of the Templar just doesn't see those piggies. Master of the Templar doesn't see the piggies over there. Obviously, he's not getting lamed, so he knows exactly that they are somewhere around over there, but he didn't really focus on pushing in deer, and it's also a bit of a clue towards an invited player to the main event. Because from my experience on the qualifiers, I have seen that many players pushed in deer during the qualifiers. In fact, the majority of them did. So, because of that, I feel like this could also be a bit of a clue towards Master of the Templar being an invited player instead of a qualifier player. Over here, 2 deer pushed in by Admiral Yi, and he'll probably continue to do so. So let's talk about the maps here real quick, though. The map for Master of the Templar seems to be much better. Both of his gold mines and the stone mine are safe. Wood lines have some relatively safe parts over here as well. It's a pretty bulky island, so it is very possible to defend basically every area over here. This is a very nice map. Other side, this gold mine is a full disaster. So are these wood lines. This very thin area on Admiral Yi's map is actually awful. And overall, I think that Admiral Yi's map is way worse than his opponent's map. So, what do you do with the back dock? You can actually try a fast castle play, and it's gonna be a fast castle play here. Now, who would play back dock fast castle? The first person that comes into my mind could be Tato. Although Tato also has a front dock fast castle build order. But it's definitely a player who is not necessarily confident in his fire galley micro, potentially. The other thing is that you're up against Portuguese, and you don't really want to be on even terms with Portuguese, that's the thing. So, galley versus galley, Portuguese galleys win. Later on, fireship versus fireship, Portuguese fireships win. You want to be having a power spike against Portuguese, and that's exactly how you have to play Italians here. Indeed, this is a fast castle. It's a risky play, and this assumes that his opponent is not landing him. That's a big deal here. However, you have to consider something when it comes to islands fast castles, and that is the fact that your opponent is actually going to have his fishing eco working for him as well, so his castle age isn't going to be that much delayed. Because if you just play standard galley rush, you can actually pick off the opponent's fishing ships potentially, and that would allow you to sort of gain an advantage in terms of food eco and the castle age advantage. But if you're not killing the opponent's fishing eco, and a fast castle play will definitely not do that, then your opponent is actually going to have a pretty decent food income, and you see that Admiral Yi, he still has villagers on food, he still is going to have the fishing ship, so he's not going to be that much far behind in castle age, and I think he will soon realize his opponent is fast castling on him, and the appropriate response to that is that you're just trying to go to castle age yourself and also make a couple of demo rafts, because your opponent is going to be playing with fire ships, so you want to play demos to slow them down for the time being. A second dock is just coming in here for the Master of the Templar, and it's actually going to be a pretty clean, fast castle. He could have done even like one less voyager as well, because his food is even more abundant than what he actually needs for this one. So you see that he's already at 800 food, but he's actually Italian, so he doesn't need that much. For clicking up, a little bit low on wood he was, so that blacksmith is a tiny bit delayed. This is not a good move for Admiral Yi though. You have to split your fire galleys. Indeed, now it's actually something that he's doing. One left, one right. You have to find the opponent's docks as fast as possible and try to kill that over here. Admiral Yi, however, is sitting on 300 food already. He's going to be later to castle age, but the question is how much later he's going to be, because he's getting a market up, and in this scenario, you probably want to make sure that you don't get beaten to castle age that much. And one of the ways that you can achieve that is by selling your stone. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Admiral Yi selling stone to go up, as we're gonna have the fishing ships from Master of the Templar evacuated to the left side of the map. And look at this. Admiral Yi is actually scared of a landing. I wonder why. It doesn't seem like there is going to be a landing, but it appears that Admiral Yi is preparing for that. He's even getting gloom, so he might think he's up against a player that will land him in castle age, and that could be a possibility, to be honest. Like, landing with knights would be pretty devastating, or landing with a couple of crossbows. We have seen instances to that. So I wonder if Admiral Yi is actually a player who already got landed in one of the previous games. And do you know? I have to think it over. Anyone remembers if the Fire vs. Sneak-Off series had a landing? I'm not sure. Anyways, there is going to be a 2 minutes difference into castle age. That's fairly standard over here. Oh yeah, that was the series. There was a fake landing. Could be Nikov. Now that I think about that, think about it this way. Although no, Nikov wouldn't actually laugh on his restart attempt. He probably would be taking it a little bit more seriously. And he would also be well prepared from the rolls, so that's why it doesn't really fit. But the shaky hand under pressure would fit Nikov, and potentially being afraid of a landing like this also could be something. Anyways, as I said, War Galley is in here for Master of Templar. If you're Admiral Yi, you are reaction making. You can do two things. You're trying to save your fleet here. What are you doing? Admiral Yi, what are you doing? Don't tell me he wants to fight this. He's got slightly better fire galleys because it's 110 HP compared to just 100, but I mean, fighting against fire ships with fire galleys is not necessarily a great idea, although you have to add that he's actually doing a pretty decent job. He's saving the low HP fire ships, and don't tell me that he's actually going to win water, or at least just even water with fire galleys against fire ships. That would be a disaster for Master of the Templar. Because currently it seems like the ship numbers are still fairly close, and every second that Admiral Yi is getting closer to castle age is just an absolute dream for him. Because once he gets to castle age, he's gonna have the 4 galley upgrade coming in here in a moment, and given the circumstances, Admiral Yi's reaction was great. He sold 100 stone to go up. He will be at the second town center with the other 100, and he will actually end up maybe losing some of his fishing eco here, but given the circumstances, he didn't really fall for this fast castle. So this is actually a smart play from him. War Galley is going to... Where is War Galley upgrade? Admiral Yi, what are you doing? Okay, it's in. He just disappeared from this right corner for a moment, and I didn't actually look at the screen. I thought he cancelled accidentally. But nope, he's got it, and this is the point where Italians will somewhat start to struggle once again. 132 HP on those fire ships, just 120 on Italian fire ships here. Portuguese Navy is better by far in quality and also in unit price. So it is a lot cheaper in terms of gold cost for Admiral Yi to spam these fire ships over here. And I think that at some point, both players will have to start transitioning into war galleys. There's a demo ship coming in, demo ship. Nice connection over there. Wasn't perfect, but it was a fairly decent connection still for Master of the Templar. And there's 2 more demos coming in. This is why eventually you will have to transition to war galleys, as I said, because you want to make sure that you don't die to those demos. Nice moves so far from our Teal player, saving his fleet against the demos. There is going to be a couple of demos coming in from Admiral Yi now. Ship number wise, it's 8 fire ships versus 11, but there's a lot more demos for Admiral Yi, as he's bringing in his own right now. Demo coming in now. Admiral Yi splits away nicely, and that demo isn't really going to connect well. That was just a 1-for-1 trade with the demos. Another demo could be coming in here. Nice block over there from Admiral Yi, and it looks like this demo will actually get a reasonable connection, but it wasn't perfect. That's a very inefficient demo on the other side. And it looks like we're now having an almost full demo play here from Master of the Templar. So he knows he's behind in terms of fire ship numbers, so he just wants to capitalize on his demos and finish it off. Very, very nice water micro from Admiral Yi. He's definitely controlling those units extremely well. Second TC on the way for Master of the Templar. Currently, he is villagers wise behind by 2. Both players have Boso. No horse color on either side though, but both... Actually, this hurts Admiral Yi a little bit because he's already adding farms. His opponent isn't. And adding farms is a very underrated thing to do in Islands games, because even just a bit of an extra food eco helps you move towards Imperial Age a lot easier. Is purple MBL? Maybe. I was thinking about MBL as well. The more I look at it, the more I'm saying that it's MBL-like. And that could also ring the bell with Mudflow being used as a open scouts-like map. Currently, it seems like it's MBL versus Jordan, to be honest. It's weak guesses, as we're gonna have a 1-for-1 trade over here. But as I said, I feel like what we're seeing from purple on Islands is going to help us decide if it's MBL or not, because MBL is still okay on water, but he's not an amazing water player. And that's exactly what I'm seeing here. He's trying his best, but his build order wasn't necessarily the cleanest. I think that he actually switched to Voyagers that shouldn't have been switched. Not really a big deal, but that's something that many water players would not do. Here comes a demo, and overall his water micro wasn't really amazing. Hera would have better water micro. Hera is a very underrated water player. I don't remember when he actually saw Hera playing water last time. Might have been last Hidden Cup, to be honest, but we have seen Hera playing a couple of water games. In last year in SpongeBob Fight Night, which was around, I think, March or May, I don't remember when exactly that was, but we have seen Hera playing Islands, and he actually played really well on those. It's not like he loves that map or anything, but Hera's water execution is very, very underrated. So is Lyri's one. This is why I'm saying that this reminds me a little bit more to MBL, to be honest. Here comes some demos for Master of the Templar. He's going very, very heavy on demos. That's also not something that a lot of water players would do, like this many demos. He is behind in water, that's totally true, but this is like a almost full-on demo play here. Tries to get some nice connections, but these are awful demo hits, to be honest. These aren't great by any means. If you take a look at this, he traded 5 demos to what was like 3 or 4 fire ships. And this is exactly what I would expect from MBL on water. He's not playing bad, but he's not playing amazing by any means. And if that demo comes from the other side, that could be a disaster for Master of the Templar. Another demo connection that's a little bit weak over here. Could purple be Vivi? I don't think so, based on the communication in game number 1 between the 2 players. Technically it's possible, but I feel like Vivi would have just YOLO landed Islands, as that demo should sink the entire fleet of purple. Not the best connection. Actually, it is the best connection. So now it is 6 fire ships for Master of the Templar and 1 demo for him. 12-2 is the ratio, and I feel like this is the time where Admiral Yi can actually start making his war galleys, because you will have to transition to war galleys eventually. But remember what I said about adding food eco. That's very, very underrated here. 19 Voyagers on food. It looks like a monastery and a university is coming in here for Master of the Templar, so he probably is thinking about Imperial Age, but he's still very, very far away from that. I wonder if he will just idle his TCs. Yes, he will. It looks like Master of the Templar wants to go into Imperial, but I don't think that he's going to beat his opponent by that much into Imp, because Admiral Yi has a 12 Voyagers lead and a lot better food eco, or at least he was consuming food way less because he was 2 TCs, whereas his opponent was on 3. Now the food eco is actually better for Master of the Templar. But I feel like with that Monastery and University coming in for Admiral Yi, he's going to do the same thing as well. Just idle his TCs and go for an Imperial Age. Also, he's got the water advantage right now, so he could just start sinking these docks, and that is going to delay the Templars switch back into water. So if you destroy the docks, the fast fire ship play is going to be slowed down by a massive margin. You see that there is basically no ships on the water, so Admiral Yi can, if he splits up his fire ships over here like he's doing right now, those demos won't really have great connections. What you have to do here if you are Master of Templar is pop out the fire ship, indeed trigger the war galleys of the opponent, and then get the demos out. That was a little too early though, and like, yeah, this is not a good demo usage by any means from Master of Templar. 2 demos for 1 fire ship basically, that's not even remotely close to what you need. Imperial Age is coming in first here for Master of Templar, but he's about to lose his docks over here. And he's gonna have to rebuild these, but look at that, they're already under pressure. And I feel like at some point we're gonna have to switch into war galleys. That's not the time anymore for Admiral Yi. He probably sees the redocking attempt, and I'm fairly certain that he knows that his opponent is going into Imperial. He clicks up to Imp himself, makes a transport ship. I wonder if that transport is for a potential aggressive landing, or what he could do is try to yoink the relic away from the opponent here. You definitely want to yoink this relic from this neutral line, but right now you have the option to take all 5 relics. You can take this, you can take this, and the relics are a very underrated way of getting a nice advantage in post-Imperial. With these civilizations, especially when you're Portuguese and you have Feitorias working for you as well. Let's see what that transport is actually going to carry. I don't see a monk just yet. Could be a scout as well. It looks like it's just going to be a scout. This could be a fake landing from Admiral Yi. If it's only a scout, it could be a fake landing, but it's not a scout. It is going to be something else. It's a monk. So if that's a monk, you actually take this relic and potentially try to take this relic as well. It would be nice to have 2 monks, because 5 relics would actually be an enormous advantage. For you, 30 seconds advantage for Master of Templar into Imperial isn't enough, because you see that his numbers aren't satisfactory. It's 27 to 9. And the thing is that are we just gonna see a passive play here with this island? I would love to see that monk trying to take that relic, because taking a relic away from the opponent's island is going to be a huge advantage. You see War Galley sailing to the back of the opponent's base, maybe try to hit some Voyagers on the other side of the wood line. And there is also War Galleys being added. No careening just yet, and the monk is technically out, but he's not doing anything. Oh, look at this blocking as well. Admiral Yi blocks the dock foundation with the transport. Not a big deal, but it is something that once again is very, very underrated. Could Jordan outclass MBM by this much? On islands, probably. On Mudflow, he got outclassed pretty heavily. And you also have to consider that on Arabia, a significant portion of Admiral Yi winning was that he actually got 5 relics, right? So it was a 5 relics Lithuanians versus a purple player. That's something that you have to consider as well. So, yeah, it could be Taro as well, but I feel like Jordan is my guess here so far. So Fastfire is going to be in for Master of the Templar, but how many ships he has? He's got 16 ships. There is going to be a couple of... I think Fastfire is something that Admiral Yi could actually invest into. I think Portuguese don't have Fastfire, if I'm right. So he's gonna have to go for War Galleys, but those War Galleys are... having ballistics, they do not have careening, and even more so dry dock. Right now, at this point, you want dry dock for those war galleys because you don't want to get overrun by fire ships, and that's the dangerous part. I think you need a couple of demos here if you are Admiral Yi. Even if those are not heavy demos, just simple demos, they need to slow down those fire ships because you still don't want to lose your galleons to an overwhelming amount of fire ships. And it looks like we're going to have a very aggressive play towards the middle island, something that I actually criticized for players not doing in many of the qualifier sets. Now they're going for it, an early castle in the middle. Still, I think Admiral Yi is missing demos in this one, just getting chemistry in. Once he saw that his opponent is an Imperial, he should have gone for a couple of demos. You don't need a lot. You need 5 demos here. That weakens those fireships enough for your galleons to be able to pick off the rest. Here's the castle coming up. Still, I mean, it is 36 galleons, and the galleons will be much better in late game than the fast fires will be. So, especially once we're seeing a couple of demos from Admiral Yi, those galleons, especially cheaper galleons and higher HP galleons, will just be great. We already have Faetorius coming in here as well for Admiral Yi. I feel like the minimum I can say about Admiral Yi is that he watched the qualifiers, but he's playing islands very clean over here. Super standard gameplay that he's doing, but he definitely watched the qualifiers and sees the power of the Faetoria. Knows that he can yoink relic away from the opponent, and he's gonna be sitting on 4 relics if he does that. In fact, he could even pick off a 5th one. A very fast heated shot coming in here. I have to say that this is crystal clean play from Admiral Yi. He's getting the technologies that he needs. He's really prioritizing things that he needs to prioritize at the very moment. That's the thing. So he's going for the middle islands. I like that quite a bit, trying to take as many resources away from the opponent as possible. He's gonna have Faetorius, he's gonna have the relics, and the thing is that, I mean, as careening comes in right now for Admiral Yi, Italians will just die to Portuguese in post-imp. I just don't know how Master of the Templar could actually counterattack this one right now. Like, he's gonna try making his own... Like, it's... what is it even? Fire ships? No, Master of the Templar is pretty much trying to redock here with what I assume would be fire ships once again, but the thing is that Admiral Yi just needs to make traps here and keep trapping down these docks. These aren't going up. And I have to say that after seeing this islands game, I'm like starting to be like 70-80% sure that Master of the Templar is MBL. Based on the first game, based on how he actually tried to play Mudflow, based on how he's playing islands here, because he's definitely getting absolutely stomped here on islands, and I don't think that there is a way here back for him. You're not going to outlast Portuguese on islands, but you're not going to win a direct fight here either. Like, you see that Admiral Yi isn't even microing his ships, he's tacking into heavy demo, so those fast fires will sink to the bottom of the ocean in 5 seconds, and it is 47 army against 4. He's trying to trap that castle down, but at this point, you can actually get cannon galleons here for Admiral Yi. Defensive castle at the back, but as I said, at this point, Admiral Yi's lead is so big that he can just dive in, snipe the traps over here. Karak is just coming in for some extra pierce armor, and really, those castles might not stay up. I don't think that there is heated shot available for Master of the Templar, or at least he didn't get it right now. And that's actually a very nice move as of Admiral Yi. He's playing Surgical Precision Islands game, and you have to ask the question, who's playing this clean islands? Jordan could definitely be a candidate. It was his home map for the qualifiers. He's really playing this one clean. He's even transporting a monk here to get the relics. Really, he's doing everything he needs to in order to win this game. So, moving to the middle island early, stealing a relic from the opponent, picking up this relic, picking up the relics over here at home as well, starting to add Faetorius, so he's not having any empty population and he's getting as many resources as possible. Really, every timing, every move from Admiral Yi makes a lot of sense here in this game, and even though the KD is dead even, the reality is that from now on, Admiral Yi will probably start dominating this game with what was actually a way worse map for him than it is for his opponent. Did Jordan call restart during qualifiers? I don't remember, but because as I said, Admiral Yi wanted to call restart at the beginning of game number 1, makes me wonder if it's a qualifiers player, to be honest. Is Faetoria considered Voyager count? Nope. It's not considered Voyager count, it's actually population. If you take a look at the count, you can see why. 97 Voyagers, 61 or 64 army. That would be about 160 pop, and Jordan... not Jordan, but Admiral Yi is 180 population overall, so because the Voyager number and the military numbers don't add up for the overall population, you can see that Faetorias don't actually count into this bar of Voyager population. And with that, we are gonna have a GG over here. Master of the Templar getting absolutely stomped on water, and the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm feeling it's a Jordan versus MBL set. And that would also explain the why we're seeing Admiral E completely stomping his opponent on water. This is definitely not a very, very advanced level water play that we have seen here from Master of Templar. The Fire Galley micro was better for Admiral E by far. The transitions, the way that he overall played this map was just way better. Would MBL give up overall easily? I think if it's islands, yes. So I feel like MBL probably knew exactly that he's gonna have little chances on islands if it's really MBL. MBL wouldn't give up a land map easily, but he would definitely give up islands. I mean, what is he even hoping in? Like, he just lost this castle. He's going to lose his docks once again. His opponent is sitting on the middle island with gold and stone available. His opponent is sitting on 4 relics with Feitorias. You're not stopping Portuguese post-Imperial. And also, I feel like Portuguese pick from Admiral Yi is more reminiscent to what we have seen in the qualifiers. The Italians pick, I feel like everybody who has seen the qualifiers has seen that the Portuguese is better on islands right now than Italians are. So who would pick Italians? A player that hasn't really seen a lot of the qualifiers, or someone who still thinks Italians is just a better civilization over here. But I feel like based on qualifiers, I think that Portuguese makes more sense here. And that's something that Admiral Yi went for. He might still have been able to try landing with Kondo. I don't think so. I mean, he doesn't have water control. Maybe he can try a landing, but I mean, his opponent can always make 2 defensive castles. Like, you see that Admiral Yi's got perfect vision across his map. Outposts will spot it immediately. He's going to send, right as he sees 5 Voyagers landing, he will send 20 board galleys there and he will stop it. And the only place where you can land if you're Master of a Templar is this peninsula. But here, in this case, this peninsula being this thin actually helps Admiral Yi, because if there's a landing here, he's going to be able to stop it with just simply ships. If it was a much more bulkier part of the island, he wouldn't be able to reach Voyagers in the middle. But because it's a thin stripe of land, even if Master of the Templar lands here, you would see an immediate move of Admiral Yi sending 20 war galleys and clean it up before that would do anything. This game was over. With that, Admiral Yi takes the lead back, and we'll go to the second home map of the Master of Templar, Gold Rush. And if you think about how he actually played Mudflow, just basically played as a scout's map, he added docks later because he had to respond to his opponent, but he kind of felt surprised that he's actually seeing ships. So he kind of assumed that it's going to be a land map. Gold Rush also a land map. Most of the maps in this tournament are hybrid maps. And to me, that is also a clue towards MBL, because MBL would most likely be picking land maps. So we're going to Gold Rush. Islands is gone. We will have Portuguese lost here for Admiral Yi, and we will have Italians lost for Master of the Templar. So it's either Britons or Tatars for this map, and Japanese will be left for High Tides if we get there. Whereas for the other side, Berbers could be a civilization pick on either High Tide as well. If Berbers are left for High Tide, this map is probably going to be Mayans. If Berbers are used on Gold Rush to try and counterpick the potential Tatars, then it's going to be probably Celts on High Tide. This is a tricky mind game, because if you're Admiral Yi, you might want to go for Tatars, but your opponent has Berbers. So you think, hey, okay, I'm going to go Britons in case my opponent goes Berbers. But if you go Britons, your opponent has Mayans. So this could be tricky. And depending on what civ they select, either of these 2 players could counter the other. As we have game number 4 coming in here. Robo just posted the recorded game. So we will be jumping into the next game over here. Let me open that up. And game number 4, Admiral Sun-shin versus Master of the Templar. And we're going to Gold Rush over here. We're gonna have... hello, game. That was awkward. Alright, So we're gonna have Admiral Yi on the south as Britons in teal, and we're going to have the Berbers pick here for Master of Templar. So he was trying to sort of out-strategize his opponent a tiny bit. Not sure if it worked out, because I think that Britain's a reasonable answer to Berbers over here. Master of Templar was probably expecting Tatars, but even now, the Berber Knight Flood could be very, very dangerous to fight against for Admiral Yi. But that also means that for High Tides, Master of Templar will have to go for Mayans, or he has to go for Celts. I'm not too impressed about either of those civilizations. Anyways, we'll actually take a look at Admiral Yi's early build order to see what he's doing with the houses and the borders, because that could be a clue if he's Dogao or not. I don't think it's Dogao, but I am fairly certain I can identify Dogao from his early build order in Dark Age. I said this last year in Hidden Cup 3, that's actually a cool story while we were in Dark Age. Last Hidden Cup, I kept saying I can identify Dogao, I can identify Dogao, and I said no to every player, and Twitch chat was already like, okay, what if I can't identify him? But nope, it was just the final set from the first round was belonging to Dogao, and after 5 seconds, well, not 5 seconds, but after like 5 minutes into the first game, I actually identified Dogao, and indeed it was Dogao. So if there is one person I can almost guarantee to identify, that's gonna be Dogao. So, little push coming in here for Admiral Yi, and we are gonna have the next soldier being added to food. No surprise about that. I'm just really taking a deeper look into this build order, because that's the real question that we're always facing. 4 on wood, very standard for Britons over here. And we're gonna have probably 2 houses. The question is where this soldier goes next. If this soldier goes on the hunt, then that's the Dogao style of playing Dark Age. If this soldier goes on the berries, then that's not. So, with that, we're gonna have some early wars coming in here, and we talked about the fact that MBL would wall himself up super early. That also seems to be a fitting situation, and that is gonna be end up a pre-meal drush here, interestingly, from Admiral Yi. We're gonna have some early wars, some big wars even, as we take a look at the map of Master of Templar. He's got a woodland at the back, gold, stone, relatively safe, so are the hunt. He hasn't pushed in a single bit of a hunt, and this is a nasty forest. There's actually a tile hole over there, and that's gonna be insanely hard for Master of Templar to find, if not impossible. He sees it. He sees that hole, so he can actually plug that hole in, but it also is pretty challenging to spot. But we're gonna have some quick wars over here, potentially to try and get a kill on the opponent's scout, and that happened as well. That's the remains of Admiral Yi's scout over there. It was a little bit sloppy from our teal player. So, pre-meal drush coming in here for Admiral Yi, who has an okay-ish map. This gold mine is workable. The stone mines are actually open on the front, like both of them. A lot of wood at the back, and the map is wallable enough. I don't really like the fact, however, that both stones are on the front, and you have to wall all the way to the far right to protect this gold mine. Meanwhile, this is still open on the left here, and that could be a little bit troublesome for Master of the Templar, going for the early wars. This is like 80% sure it's MBL. We're seeing here for Master of the Templar. He's going to scout and it's a Wolf Rush, right? Is it a Wolf Rush? What even is this from Admiral Yi? I think he wanted to pre-meal drush this one, but the reality is that he only made 1 militia and he's not adding any more. So he maybe changed his mind. He might just be faking pre-meal drush. I'm really unsure, as there is that house coming in. Or, as things stand, he might just be scouting the middle, to be honest, with that militia. Remember, he lost his scout, so he kind of needs something to scout the map with. We're gonna have farms already on the way for Admiral Yi, so this pretty much is a no drush FC here from Admiral Yi. Loom on the way for Master of Templar 23 plus Loom. Kind of feels like a fast castle-ish timing. Although it's still gonna be tight. I mean, Fuel Age isn't going to be super tight in terms of food eco. Castle Age is going to be, even though now you have the Voyagers on the hunt. So, currently Admiral is just chilling over here with that one militia trying to do some scouting. He will finish his wars over here as well. It's 23 plus Loom, don't forget that. Which is the equivalent of a 24 plus no Loom. It would be awkward indeed, but I feel like 23 plus Loom might be doable. I think the tricky thing is that he's not mining gold right now, and if he wanted to FC this one, he would be sending 3-4 Voyagers on gold by now. Which raises the question of what you are exactly going to do. Because he's not sending alien Voyagers to gold. It might be like 1 or 2 scouts and then just go for a Fuel Age boom and go into Castle Age. I think that could be the plan. That would also be a very MBL-like way of playing this. The first time I've seen this fast feudal into just eco upgrades and then a Castle Age would be very MBL-like. I've seen this in an arena tournament by MBL. Now he's adding Voyagers to gold. I have no idea what MBL is up to. This is late for an Archer's build, too early for a fast castle. Yeah, he's getting the eco upgrades, but he could have gone for a much faster feudal then. I feel like this wasn't the original plan for him by any means. Still, this can be a very strong build. The problem is that Britons can punish this one really well, because Britain Rush FC, especially considering he only made 1 militia, it's a 27 plus 2. I think this could have been 26 because they didn't actually go for 3 whole militia. And the food eco could be a little bit tight for Admiral Yi. This is actually interesting indeed. These are farms that are avoiding the replacement of the straggler trees. Now, I have no idea if there's any players that does this, but honestly, if I wanted to do some research on who could Admiral Yi could be, I would look at some rated games from a player like Admiral Yi. Because most players just replace the straggler trees with the farms. But he actually put a lot of emphasis on keeping those straggler trees alive. This is actually something that I haven't really seen. You see that like once a straggler tree is close to being out, then you're just gonna add the farms on top of it. Now it's gonna be a range, which makes me wonder if it's a skirmisher defense. Because against Britons, you probably don't want to go for your own archers. It will be pretty bad. Is there actual benefit from doing such a thing? I think there is. Those straggler trees are pretty valuable at the beginning, so I think it makes sense for you to do this. These farms aren't really that much inefficient, to be honest. Server. Interesting. Should be UK West. There is the leaks. It's 2 European. It has to be 2 European players. That's a massive leak. I actually discussed this at the qualifiers. This is why Purple said, don't say. Because that's a huge clue. Here's the deal. If it's a European player and a North American like Hera, then you play somewhere like Brazil, because you play on a neutral server where both players have the same ping on. So you don't play on a Europe server, you're not playing on a American server. If you play against Chinese or Vietnamese player, you probably play West India or Southeast Asia, because that's where both players have good pings on, or at least alright. This actually confirms that these are both Europeans. UK West is fine for Hera versus European. Could be, but I feel like that would still be a ping advantage for a European, and by rule, Robo is selecting it. And they want even pings. So it could still be like Hera, but I don't think it's Hera, to be honest. I think there is going to be, if it's Hera with UK West, Hera has like probably 100 ping, a European would have something like 20-30. So if it is UK West, trust me, it is 99% 2 Europeans playing. And that limits us to... Yeah, Dogao no way would be UK West, that's absolutely true. Dogao would be East US if he was up against a European. It's not an Eastern player. It could be potentially North American. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's definitely not a Brazilian, because Brazilians even have bad pings to the Brazilian servers because of Brazilian internet being bad. Same thing with Chinese players. So they usually play, as Chinese, Vietnamese players play Southeast Asia or West India. Against Europeans, Brazilians play East US. So that server information actually means that both of these are Europeans, and look at that, it's Janitors! The unit that you didn't expect! What year are we in that Janitors are viable? And funnily enough, they actually might be reasonable in this situation. Like, Janitors actually are pretty tanky when it comes to their HP. They already have +2 defense in. Interesting is the fact, this is something to talk about. Master of the Templar gets +2 defense before fletching. That's a video that Hera made a couple of, some time ago. If it's actually better to get the defense upgrade for skirms first, compared to the attack upgrade. We cannot necessarily rule out Hera, although... the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm thinking it's Hera. It would be a little bit, unconventional from Hera to go for Mudflow. You know what, this could very well be Hera. Just think about it this way. Yeah, I also think that the performance isn't very Hera-like, but remember the reaction to the restart attempt? He said something like, really? And that's something that Hera would say. The Mudflow game, his Scout's control is something that was very, very good, and he kind of planned to play that game as a Scout's game. The Islands game was a little too sloppy though for Hera, I believe, but I think that our tier player is definitely European. So this is tricky. This is very, very tricky. We know, I am like 99% sure there is no Brazilians or Chinese or Vietnamese players involved in this one. So it comes down to Europe and North America potentially. With that, we'll have free TC boom now for Admiral E. His opponent is on free TCs as well. Janitor is something that MBL and Hera would both mess around with. I think we are actually in between MBL and Hera for our purple player. For teal, could be Nikov. Could potentially be Jordan. I don't think it's Taro. It's definitely not Viper, to be honest. So, we actually have pretty decent clues for these players, I have to say. It's even a 4 TC coming in here for Admiral E, so he's gonna play some massive, massive boom over here, knowing that his opponent only has Janitors, and Janitors aren't really amazing at dealing damage, that's the problem. Just like Skirmishers, they're not amazing at killing stuff. They're good at archers, but they won't really be getting through walls easily, and you might need to bring in a Siege Workshop here if you're Master of a Templar, who is probably gonna get a forward position here in the middle. He's on stone already, but that's just gonna be for additional TCs for now. Both players playing on 4. I don't want to spoil, to answer that question, I don't want to say anything on predictions for the first 2 players, because I don't want spoilers to the other sets. Because if I say why I think a certain player was that actually is a spoiler. So, I have ideas. But in case you wanna check out my ideas, you have to watch that series specifically to see my ideas for that. Because I want to upload these to YouTube spoiler-free. Once this series ends and like the YouTube recording ends, I'm fairly certain that I will summarize everything that we learned so far. But that's gonna be not happening for YouTube, and it looks like we're gonna have a Spearman being chased down by wolves. Master of Templar going for the relic over here. That was... At the end, the Spearman could have been just deleted because the wolves ate him anyways. So, a couple of Janitors, there's the forward workshop coming in. Remember that Admiral Yi doesn't have a safe stone, and his other gold mine is also really bad here. I'm starting to feel like Admiral Yi is playing too passive here. Where is Admiral Yi going to get gold from when his gold mines run out? And these gold mines are about to run out very, very soon. So, like, there is about... How much? About 1,000 max. So, booming here is alright. What doesn't feel alright is that you boom when you are completely cornered like this, and you don't really have a lot of gold to work with. Now, it looks like now he's moving out for stone. He's waiting for a couple of knights to pile up. Obviously, Berbers can mix in camels against that, and that's the problem that you're facing with Britons. You are very, very one-dimensional towards archers. And still, 42 on foot for Admiral Yi. That could actually mean a very, very fast Imperial Age from him. Especially if he stops making knights. He's going to send out villagers to both stone mines, so I assume he wants to maybe castle this position and go for that other gold mine. For now, he's patient. And that's something that we have seen from Admiral Yi in most of the games. He's playing patient, he's waiting it out, and we're gonna have the knights popping pretty soon. He's waiting for +2 defense, and he wants one decisive engagement. We will have camels in the party, though, and as I said, this is what I don't necessarily like. The situation that Admiral Yi is in. Funnily enough, Master of Templar is just expecting the Knights play, he doesn't see it. And here come the Camels. Knights will have a basically just +1 defense, so a couple of Camels here will already be satisfactory. Crossbows will dive in though, and the Crossbows might try to pick off the Camels. So this is a very, very micro-intensive battle over here for both sides. And I think that this is actually an alright scenario for Admiral Yi. He's chasing down the Janitors with the Knights. And the Crossbows, in the meanwhile, was able to focus down the Camels. More importantly, now the Crossbows camped down that stable, which means that the reinforcement of Camels will be intercepted. And it looks like we're actually going to have a Halberdier play here from Admiral Yi, although it could technically be Champion as well, or Longsword. Because the reality is that he's up against basically skirmisher tier units, and Champions are alright against that. It should still be pikemen, and indeed it is pikemen, but you have to consider that Janitors could actually perform relatively decently against those. So we are gonna have a Janitor randomly getting eaten by a wolf. Hello, mister? Do something? Hello? Well, that's one dead Janitor, that's for sure. I just want to see the wolf eating this guy. Boom. So, yeah, the stand ground attack didn't really work out over there. Bloodlines just now coming in from Master of Templar as well, but there's quite a lot of Knights, Pikemen on the field, Crossbows as well. A lot of Janitors will intercept the Crossbows though. 116 Voyage against 99 though. The boom is crazy here for Admiral Yi. Nice mangonel shots over there from Master of Templar, but you have to ask the question if this was worth it. Because he killed 3 Crossbows for 2 mangonels. It looked nice, but at the end of the day, you traded, as I said, a couple of pikemen and crossbows to 2 mangonels, and those Janitors won't be doing much, especially in Imperial once Arbalests are coming in, as Admiral Yi is now officially out of gold, Camels now pop, and this is going to be the big fight that he wants to take, but I feel like this is too late. The castle is gonna go up, and there's still enough pikemen on the field to scare these guys back, and I think Pikeman and Arbalest here will work really nice. The castle goes up, Admiral Yi will click into Imperial immediately. His opponent is nowhere close to Imp. And I think, as I said, the discussion is between Hera and MBR right now for a Master of Templar. Whichever these players are, I feel like either of them losing in the first round would be a massive surprise. And this is actually a good fight for Master of Templar. Here he gets a castle up in the middle. But I think this is the moment as we're gonna have... this is still a risky position because there is a siege workshop here that could just pop out the mangonels. Indeed, mangonels pop out trying to shoot the villagers. But once again, I feel like the mangonels will just get poked down by the pikemen. This game is not over completely, but I feel like Admiral Yi is slowly gaining control over this map. Especially that 16 villagers lead plus the 1 minute advantage to Imp could be brutal. He's going to see the castle soon, so he will actually be able to start tabbing it down. Knights looping all the way around might actually try to get some raiding damage done, although that feels currently quite impossible. Master of Templar won't really be making a lot of army though, and it seems like we're just gonna have a full Halberdier play. We are not even having any more archers coming in, and Light Cav. Britain Light Cav is actually fairly decent, and indeed Hub and Siege, supported by Light Cav to deal with potential Janitors or just go raiding, actually can be a reasonable thing to do. Knights might actually find these stone miners over here as Chainmail starts kicking in. I think in this situation you could actually make a case for attack upgrades being a priority because you are trying to make Light Cav and you're trying to make Habadis at the same time, and attack upgrades is something that both of these units would actually benefit from. Here come the Knights indeed, intercepting quite a lot of Voyagers. And with that, we are gonna have minus 4, 5, oh, but that's a lot of Voyagers dead from Master of the Templar. And whoever purple is, there is some sloppiness overall in this one. He didn't really react to that one, and he's behind by 18 Voyagers. Now tries to quick call his base as well, but his opponent is up to Imperial, and his opponent is gonna have 2 castles against 1 with Britons. Here comes the Treb. A second castle will actually start to be constructed as well for Master of the Templar, and he will have the overall heal advantage with that middle heal. And we'll also have a couple of rams soon coming out. And the thing is that right now Master of the Templar has 6 camels and 18 janitors, 4 camel archers. But I mean, camel archers are bad against Britons. They're awful against Britons, to be honest. Still, Admiral Yi needs to keep making trebs over here, as we're gonna have chemistry coming in fast for Master of the Templar for buffing both the janitors, but more importantly, to get bombard cannons on the field. So here come the big siege push in the middle, and how do you even stop this? It's not an awful lot of rams, and it's only capped rams, but there is Habadirs supporting. And what is the army composition looking like right now for Master of the Templar? It's janitors that also suffer from bonus damage against Habadirs. You see the janitors actually are getting poked down by Hobs really easily, and camels, same thing as well. They just don't have an answer to the Habadirs right now, and as long as the janitors can run away, it's fine, or as long as you get potentially Habadirs, or potentially hand cannons on the field. But I mean, if those castles go down, Master of the Templar is going to be in a tough position, and I feel like he's not taking good engagement over here. So, yeah, the Habadirs is slowly dying, but I feel like just look at just look at how this fight looks like. The castles are slowly going down. There is longbows being added here as well. I think Arbalest would be a better play here. It's just a matter of they don't really have the ranges to produce longbows. The longbows are even missing the bracer, and I think they're also missing chemistry. But both castles are down, and right now Master of the Templar is sitting on 9 Voyagers, or 9 army, and he taps out. I don't really know who Master of the Templar was. My current guess is Hera or MBL, but I feel like indeed this was a little bit underwhelming for a player like Hera, to be honest. So that's basically it for us. Admiral Yi winning 3-1 over here in what was a fairly convincing series. The only game where Admiral Yi fell behind was Mudflow. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say who these players were. I have a feeling it's MBL. And for the other player, Admiral Yi, it's also a tricky one, because he played really clean. But I don't think it's Viper. I don't think it's Taro. To me, it feels like a GM member. Could be Doubt. But I feel like, as I said, this player actually tried to go a restart, and to me that feels like it's actually a player that played the qualifiers. So I think it's Jordan. I actually think it's Jordan, as you're saying on the chat. Jordan also built longbows. I remember that. Longbows. I actually was freaking out in those qualifiers when he made longbows instead of Arbalest, because he almost lost the game there because of that. But yeah, I feel like the first islands pick, the way that he used Portuguese on islands, the longbows, the overall style, the fact that he's probably a European player that played in the qualifiers, I think it's Jordan. And the opponent seems like it's MBL. I think that we will definitely see more from Admiral Yi on Saturday in the quarterfinals, so that actually helps us refine our guesses. But I feel like it's going to be a little bit tricky to guess who Master of Templar was, but right now I'm leaning towards Hera or MBL. With that, Jordan 3-1 MBL seems unlikely. You have to consider, how was this a 3-1 though? Think about it this way. Arabia game, Admiral Yi won with 5 relics as Lithuanians. I would like to add that on the Arabia game, the scouting from purple was kind of low, something that MBL is often doing. So it didn't really scout a huge portion of the map. So it was a 5-league Lithuanian win. Islands game, that's definitely something where I actually favor Jordan over MBL. And Jordan has been really hot lately indeed. So he has been in a very, very good shape. And this third game, it's about, I think Berbers are having a tough time against Britons, to be honest. So it's not impossible that Jordan has beaten MBL. Especially, as I said, because the Islands game, I am fairly certain that the majority of the players would have played better on Islands than Purple here. Like, that felt like he was doing good things on Islands, but he was just outplayed very, very badly over there. So my final guess for this one is actually Jordan versus MBL. And it would be a massive surprise should Jordan eliminate MBL here. Obviously, as I said, we'll see if Admiral Yi is indeed Jordan in the future. And with that, Admiral Yi advances to the next round of the tournament.